Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I am up. I'm seeing green all around, so I'm going to take that as I am active. Let me check my sound, make sure my sound is good. Guys, the videos today are not going to be long. These are going to be relatively short in comparison. Also, I'll probably only take one or two comments. That's not because I've started to hate my audience. That's not it. My wife and I are moving, and so I have to get some work done outside of the videos themselves. So I'm going to do a few in a row, and I'm going to keep it moving. I don't want to do these multiple times, so I'm doing it live. Now, I have a guest coming tomorrow. So Lee Carter is the Democratic Socialist of America candidate that got elected in Virginia, in Fairfax. This is the guy who didn't get Democratic support, or at the very least, Democrats really didn't help his campaign out, and he won nonetheless. This is also the guy that they were mocking him in Congress, showing up Soviet symbols as he was talking about, if I'm not mistaken, working to the benefit of his public and his constituent that put him in that office in the first place. So he will be on the show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Lee Carter. I believe he's for Fairfax. So that should be a pretty interesting conversation on what Democratic Socialists of America are planning and what are their ultimate goals. And for that matter, what is his ultimate goal? Is he trying to do federal office? So that should be a really good conversation tomorrow at 5 p.m. Lee Carter, Democratic Socialist of America. I saw this video today, and I laughed my ass off. And when I see videos that make me laugh, I like to show them to my audience because I think it may also make them laugh. John Bercow. John Bercow is head of parliament. He's the leader of parliament. He's the guy who's in charge of that apparatus. That's the guy who's like, order, order, questions to the prime minister. You know, that guy. In fact, just so you can see who I'm talking about, this is a little bit of Bercow. I've liked this guy. I've always liked this guy. He comes across as nonpartisan because the position that he's in requires him to be somewhat nonpartisan. In fact, the position wouldn't work if he was being partisan in the position. So he calls balls and strikes, and he tends to be pretty decent about it, at least that I've seen. So this is a little example of Bercow. And I have a reason that I'm showing you a little bit of Bercow, because Bercow did something that was hilarious, and he took somebody out to the woodshed like nobody's business. Open, overt, immediate correction of behavior. So let's take a look at Bercow first before we show the other footage.
Order. There's simply too much noise in the chamber on both sides. You're yelling across the chamber. Be quiet. Quiet. Calm yourself. Take up yoga. Mr. Edmund. You really... Order! You really are a very overexcitable individual. You need to write out 1,000 times. I will behave myself at Prime Minister's questions. Mr. Ellis, you are a distinguished practicing barrister. I do think... Order! Order! Mr. Ruane, you are an incorrigible delinquent. Order. The quicker people remember their manners, the better.
It simply is the politics of the con man to pretend that you can freeze prices when you're not in control of global energy prices.
Let it go the first time. The word con man is frankly unparliamentary.
You cannot have...
The question has been asked, and the answer must be heard.
And it turns out, Mr. Speaker... as long as it takes.
Calm yourself, man. The lion must get back in its den.
We know, Mr. Speaker, he's got a new advisor from America. Yes, he has, Mr. Axelrod, and this is what he's being advised to say. Let me share it with the House because I think this is excellent advice. He says this: there's a better future ahead of us, but we must not go backward to the policies that put us in this mess in the first place. I don't know what they're paying him, Mr. Speaker.
Order!
But I haven't finished.
Order! In response to that question, the Prime Minister has finished, and he can take it from me that he's finished. Dr. Liam Fox
Bercow trips me out. He trips me out. It's like, order! Order! You're a distinguished gentleman, sir. I love that guy. So, Boris Johnson called a woman out by her husband's name. Now, you can understand this is somewhat problematic. That woman has a name. That woman has done what she needed to do in her political situation in order to get to where she is. She is not her husband's wife. She is a person unto herself. Now, I can understand some people saying it is maybe he shouldn't have gut checked him this hard, but whatever. I don't necessarily care. I don't necessarily like Boris Johnson, so I don't have that much feelings about it. But that being said, Boris Johnson was taken out to the woodshed. Bercow treated Boris Johnson like Boris Johnson was old yellow. I'm going to show this because this is hilarious. What it boils down to is Boris Johnson called a woman by her husband's name, and Bercow immediately put a stop to it, saying it's sexist behavior and that behavior is not going to be allowed in Parliament. I like this. Let's take a look at this, and we could talk about it after.
Says the noble and
yeah, and flip.
Says the noble and learned lady, the Baroness, whatever it is, I can't remember what it is. Nugent. What an extraordinary thing.
We do not address people by the titles of their spouses. The Shadow Foreign Secretary has a name, and it's not Lady something. We know what her name is, and it is inappropriate and frankly sexist to speak in those terms. And I'm not having it in this chamber. That is the end of the matter. No matter how senior a member, that parlance is not legitimate. It will not be allowed, and it will be called out on it, and I require no chuntering from a secretary position from any occupant of the Treasury bench. I've said what the position is, and believe me, that is the end of the matter. I hope I've made the position extremely clear to people who are not well informed about such matters.
I hope I've made the situation extremely clear to people who are not informed of such matters. Now, someone could say, well, Boris Johnson just couldn't think of the woman's name, in which case he just grabbed whatever name he could find out of a hat. That's possible. It seemed that Bercow didn't necessarily believe that. He thought he was being, I would imagine that he thought he was being intentional. Now, that being said, though, you can, in situations where people have faced discrimination, and I'm talking about either women, minorities, whatever, you have to err on the side of a little bit of leeway in regards to how they perceive these things. Now, I don't necessarily know what was in Boris Johnson's head on this. Who knows what's typically in Boris Johnson's head? I would imagine not much. But it's kind of besides the point. Ultimately, you have a formal body in which you have people of all races, all sexes. Well, you don't have two sexes, but you know what I mean. And they have to interact with each other in a formal, fair, earnest way. And the last thing you can allow is this precedent where you can call somebody by their spouse's name. And that's just bizarre. She's a woman in her own right. She's a person in her own right. Call her by her name. Call her by her name. So, let's see. There are people here for this. And like I said, this one wasn't going to be long. I just thought it was hilarious. He takes Boris Johnson out to the woodshed immediately. Takes him out immediately. And then goes so far as to say, yeah, I don't need comment from the bench. I don't need your comments on this. This is the position. Are we clear that this is the position on this? Yeah, Bercow may be funny. Bercow may crack jokes and everything else. But when Bercow needs to pull out a stick, Bercow pulls out a stick. It's like folks in the older days used to tell people, go out and pick me a switch. Go out and pick me a switch. I'm going to beat you with the switch that you pick out. So, yeah, fucking hilarious. Fucking hilarious. Yeah, I like Bercow. I like Bercow. Bercow trips me out. I've watched Prime Minister Questions for several years now, and he's always come across as being fair to me. Now, I don't live in Britain, so I don't know all the internal politics of everything that goes on, but from outside looking in, he comes across as just calling balls and strikes, and he doesn't necessarily seem to care about the party or political affiliation. It's, when you're in this chamber, this is the rules of behavior of the people that are going to be in this chamber. I like that. I like that. So if we were to call Jamal Mrs. Progressive Voice, that would be inappropriate. That would be very inappropriate. That would be very inappropriate. Yes. Yes, guard. Paul Bengash. By the way, Johnson's behavior is quite intentional. He was trying to slight the lady. Yeah, that's kind of my point, Paul. Bercow took that as being intentional. He didn't take that as, what's his name, looking for a name. He took it as he knows that woman's name. He's calling that woman by her husband to be, to put a knife in that woman on the sly. So, yeah, I like the fact that Bercow reacted in this way. Love it. Absolutely love it. Yes, I don't particularly like Boris Johnson. Yes, I think Boris Johnson is a goofball. So, somebody gut-checking Boris Johnson doesn't necessarily bother me in the least. In fact, if I'm being honest, slightly thrills me. In this particular case, it's well-earned, though. It's well-earned, which makes it that much better. Which makes it that much better. You cut him deep, no. Yeah, he cut me deep on that one. I'm hurt greatly by that. Alright, guys. I have a few more that I want to do. Like I said, I wasn't going to keep this one long. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Thanks, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, as always, Patreon. Thanks, everyone.